Hi, and welcome to God in 10 Minutes. These are short videos just by way of introduction to much larger subjects, so that maybe your interest will be piqued and you'll go do some of your own research. God in 10 minutes. And it's meant to show God's hand in creation, okay? Thereby proving his reality as a basis of faith. The pyramid, this will be the part 2 of the pyramid, and we're dealing with the inside in the passages. The outside, part 1, dealt with all the different spectacular scientific elements of the pyramid that prove that the Egyptians couldn't possibly have built the pyramid. All right? They didn't have the technology. But the inside is where the message is. The outside gets your attention and says, whoa, there's something important happening here. But the inside is where the message is. The pyramid, made by God, to show the history and the future of his people. That makes a difference. So the inside of the pyramid, we want to do, here's what the pyramid looks like, okay? You have the doors here, downward passage goes down, way below the base, way down into here, turns level. There's a little upside down room there, and then it goes over here into a pit, and then it dead ends. It just dead ends. Yeah. Then, on the way down in there, you see this little line here. Okay, that line starts here, just before the flat place, and it's called the well shaft, because it's about maybe like 3 feet in diameter, and it goes up straight through all the rock and everything, and then up through the pyramid itself, and then it busts out. Okay, it's like somebody exploded it out. It's not finely chiseled rocks and things like the rest of the pyramid, and it comes out exactly at the beginning of this passage here, which is called the Grand Gallery. Big high, it's like 2 stories tall. Okay, you walk up there. The first upward passage that starts out down here, from the downward passage come here, and then right there is the upward passage. That's only about 4 feet 4 feet square. So you got to crawl through it and stuff. But then it busts out. But at the same point where the Grand Gallery starts, the Queen's Chamber passage starts. Queen's Chamber comes in over here. Then you have the Queen's Chamber. And the Queen's Chamber, the level of the passageway is at one level, and then at one point you step down. Like 20 inches, I think it is, something like that. And then you continue on, and then you get to the level of the Queen's Chamber. That's important for later. So you get up at the end of the Grand Gallery, and there's a great step. Great step is 35 inches high. And then you go into the King's Chamber, but before you get there, you have to go through a couple of low places, and there's a little room in there called the Ante Chamber. We'll get to that. That's an important area. It's like the map room. Some people call it the map room, the pyramid. The only mark in the whole pyramid is almost insignificant. You pass right by, you wouldn't notice it. Right there, you see that little line there? It's called the scored line. And that's the only mark in the pyramid, the scored line. And the scored line is made perpendicular to the angle of the downward passage, 26 degrees. And it's so you can take a line on that scored line and run it out into space. And at the same time, you can take a line and run it out from the passage straight north. Because as we found out in the other segment, the pyramid is the truest building on the earth oriented true north. The Paris Observatory isn't even oriented as well as the pyramid. But at a certain time in history, this north-facing passage, downward passage, hits a star, the North Star, right? The North Star. And when that hits the North Star, this scored line hits Alcyone, the star Alcyone, in the Pleiades. Now, there's no mistaking when this happens because it can't happen for a long time, except these two things, okay? And when this happens, it happened in 2141 BC. This is called Study in Pyramidology by Raymond Catt. Here's your downward passage, okay? And when the downward passage hits that corner, you can take a measurement. 2141 to here is so many inches, okay? And then you go along the passage and nothing happening, nothing happening, nothing happening. Oh, there's something else happened here. You can take a date there. You can take another date there. You can take another date there, all right? Here's another place you can take a date. You can go to the top of the passageway and where it hits here, because that's a reasonable thing. So you can take a date there. Remember, this is God's people we're talking about, right? Well, what's the single most thing that got the dissemination of the Bible out? Wasn't that the printing press? Well, don't you know that when this mark is measured from 2141 BC, it comes out to be 1404 AD. That's when the printing press was brought into play. And when you get down here to the corner and turn, that date is 1521, the Reformation. Now I'll go over here. This date here is 1767, and it goes farther to 1848. And that's an upheaval. They call it the upside down room. World in upheaval. God's people in upheaval. Because God's people are the United States, and that's 1776 is in there. The French Revolution is in there. Dates. It's just, I don't know whether you can see that or not. The floor of the passage comes here, and then right there's a little teeny step. It goes down and then goes into the Queen's Chamber. If you draw a line out until it hits the upward passage, and the same thing for the top line, you draw two lines out there, what you're going to wind up with is a right triangle. And the triangle starts, I don't think I got it here. The triangle starts, see, here's the beginning of the Grand Gallery. The beginning of the Grand Gallery is here. The upward passage is going along. Beginning of the Grand Gallery is here. And one of the lines from the Queen's Chamber comes in here. The other one comes in here. And this, and the passageway, and this mark, this line here, forms 33 AD, crucifixion, 2 BC, birth. That's called the Christ triangle. When you lay that on the front of the pyramid, the angle formed there goes straight out and hits Bethlehem. If you lay it on the other side, have it go the other way, it hits Mount Sinai. That's God. That's God's 7 great step. When you get up at the top of the upward passage, you come up to the top, there's the great step, and then you go horizontal. But you can't stand up anymore. You have to duck down because this is a low passage in there. It's a real low passage. You got to duck down, and then you can stand up again, and there's that granite leaf in there. Okay, this is called the map room or the ante room. And there's another low passage. You have to duck down again and crawl through here until you get into the King's Chamber. Now, several different things here, because God's people were under a lot of stress during World War I, weren't they? This low passage starts at 1914. And it ends, the date, is the date here for that? No, they don't have the dates on that particular chart. That's the First World War. The second low passage ends at 1936. Pretty sure it starts at 29. That's the Great Depression, right? Now I have to mention this little guy here. That's the Granite Leaf. The Granite Leaf has a boss on it, okay? And the boss is exactly 1 inch off the face of the Granite Leaf. Here's a little better picture of it. You can see the little boss sticking out there, and that's what it looks like, okay? Well, it's exactly 1 inch off the face of that, and around here is exactly 25 of those same inches. That's a sacred cubit. The pyramid inch and 25 pyramid inches is the sacred cubit, which is what was used to build the pyramid. Well, when you get into this anteroom here, if you draw a circle around and use these limitations here, the circle measures 365.242 pyramid inches. It's called the Enoch Circle. You know when Enoch lived, right? He lived 365 years. And he was not, for God took him. Where did he take him? He took him over to build the pyramid with some of the angels. That's how they could build the pyramid with such high technology. Humans didn't build it. The angels built it with Enoch. Okay? It's called the Pillar of Enoch also. Okay, that's the second part. Part 1 is about the outside. You might pick that up. Do a little research on your own. It's a fascinating, fascinating field of study. Thanks for watching. God bless.